Imagine sinking into a cold English bog, bare ankles exposed, on purpose. Welcome to the world of the 19th century leech collector. In Victorian Britain, leeches were medicinal gold, used for everything from headaches to high blood pressure, despite their gruesome appearance. Doctors believed bloodletting could restore balance to the body, and leeches were the elegant solution, living, squirming syringes. Demand soared, and so too did the need for those brave or desperate enough to fetch leeches from the wild. Leech collecting was usually left to society's poorest, women, widows, and the elderly, with few options for income. Collectors waded into ponds and marshes barefoot. The goal: let the leeches latch on, then pry them off and collect them. The more bites, the better the yield, despite the pain, the bleeding, and the ever-looming risk of infection. A skilled collector knew which pools teemed with bloodsuckers, and which avoided human scent altogether. Timing was everything. Early mornings or misty evenings gave leeches the perfect conditions to hunt for a host. Some even used livestock and children to attract leeches. Controversial, but considered more efficient by desperate families. Once a leech attached, it secreted an anesthetic and anticoagulant, making you bleed more, but feel less. Each feeding could last up to 30 minutes. Afterward, the bite often kept bleeding for hours. Collectors endured dozens of bites a day, often without proper sanitation or medical care. Over time, many suffered chronic illnesses, anemia, and scars. Yet the work barely paid enough to eat. Leeches were sold by the dozen, shipped carefully in damp moss or clay pots to markets across Europe. At their peak, Britain exported millions of leeches annually, feeding an empire obsessed with medicinal bleeding. Whole ecosystems were scraped clean. Wild leech populations collapsed in some regions from relentless overcollection. Collectors had to wade deeper, travel farther, and expose themselves to even greater danger for fewer catches. Some collectors carried small blades to scrape off stubborn leeches, risking open wounds and more infections. Others turned to folk remedies like salt, ash, or smoldering herbs to make leeches release their grip. But salt could rupture a leech's body, leaving parts inside the wound and causing infections far worse than the bite. Collectors learned the rhythm of the marshes, memorizing which pools buzzed with leeches after rain or wind. Leeches preferred still water, hidden beneath reeds or clumps of moss where movement was less likely. Hopeful eyes watched for ripples or movement below, tiny hints that a bloodthirsty guest was near. Each step had to be slow, careful, not to scare leeches away before they latched. The best collectors moved with eerie patience and grace, like shadows beneath the willows. Those who rushed often came home empty-handed, or with more blood lost than leeches gained. Collectors used sharp eyes and patient timing to turn dangerous work into a living. Barely. Winter meant lean months. Few leeches stirred in cold water. Some collectors nearly starved. Those who could afford it stored leeches in damp cellar jars, ready to sell if spring was late. Preserving leeches took skill. Too cold, and they died. Too warm, and they escaped. Medical customers only wanted healthy, active leeches, colored black, shiny, and thick with hunger. Even after capture, leeches needed care, regular dampening, clean containers, protection from sunlight and heat. Collectors became breeders, keepers, nurses to their slimy inventory, livelihood bound directly to each squirming creature. A leech could fetch more than a day's wages if it survived the journey and arrived hungry. Apothecaries examined the leeches closely. Any lethargy or cloudiness meant rejection, losses nobody could afford. Despite the risk and uncertainty, leech collecting offered power over one's fate, however muddy or painful it was. Some collectors developed reputations, people who could sing the leeches out from seemingly empty waters. Their knowledge was passed quietly, through gestures, glances, tales, and old paths remembered in stride. Every forgotten bend in the river might be a treasure trove or a deadly trap. Snake bites, infections, sudden floods. Nature was not gentle to leech collectors. But for many, The bog was more familiar than the village, more honest than the workhouse. Then, in the mid-19th century, science changed. Bloodletting fell out of favor. Demand collapsed overnight. Collectors were left adrift, wounds still healing, scars still visible, but no buyers in sight. Some collectors vanished into poverty, others adapted, finding new trades in herbalism or fishmongering. But a few leech keepers remained, selling to eccentric doctors or foreign buyers clinging to old beliefs. Today's medical leeches are DNA tested and lab raised, but their wild ancestors whisper through marshes still. Modern biologists study leech saliva for anticoagulant breakthroughs, with technology even the Victorians couldn't dream of. From bog to lab, the leech has kept its grasp, still clinging to humanity, one drop at a time. So, would you last an hour ankle-deep in marsh water, body bait for bloodthirsty worms?